Dr. Henry said we should call him Uncle Henry. Now I'm going to him from out. Somebody that when he was teaching some Sunday school people with my parents, they've not even met. And that's Uncle Henry. No, sir. He's like, Daddy. Daddy, sir. All right, I want to recognize some very, very important people who are in our midst today. And please, when I call their names, I want you to please give them a Port Harcourt welcome. All right, can we do that? Can we do that? Great. So first is I want to recognize the presence of Reverend Joy Umukoro, who is the resident pastor of New Covenant Baptist Church and a board member. Thank you so much, sir. Also is Engineer Solomon Ayao. Please, can we give him a round of applause? And then we have our speakers present. We have Dr. NWUKE. Please give him a round of applause, a Port Harcourt round of applause. We have Obinna Okereke. We have Fama Ogbole Samson. I can't hear the applause, people. I can't hear it. Are we tired? We also have Babatunde Akim Moses, who is here with his very beautiful wife. Can you please wave? Thank you so much. And we'll be going straight into the first keynote address. But I want to prepare us for it. Do you have your pen, paper, pad ready? Do you have your pen, paper, pads ready? I love it. Do you have your questions prepared in advance? Do you have your questions prepared in advance? I love it. Yes, I would like us to turn our eyes right now to the screen while we introduce our first keynote speaker, Dr. OKE NWUKE.
Dr. OKE NWUKE is a seasoned finance and corporate governance expert with over 33 years of experience leading Nigeria's banking and corporate sectors. He currently serves as a non-executive director at Axis Bank PLC and also across several blue-chip firms, and has held previous roles as Group Executive Director, Axis Bank, and board member, Horse Chariots Group. He holds a DBA from Walden University and currently serves in the capacity of Senior Fellow at Lagos Business School, driving thought leadership in family business management and governance. An accomplished academic and industry leader, Dr. NWUKE champions sustainability and effective leadership, succession in family businesses across Nigeria and emerging markets. Let's welcome to the Accelerate 2.0, Dr. OKE NWUKE.
Let's keep clapping, please. I present to you a man of integrity, excellence, and deep vision. Sir, no, it's all right here, sir. As I'm the one with the mic today, sir, I'm the one with this mic. I've asked that the technical team, the DJ, plays a song for you to dance up to this place, sir. So we want to see those moves. Let's go.
No, that's okay, oh, in allegiance.
Okay.
Since I took a class, I've been stuck on you. By the waters you lay, me will show your countenance. Yes, be ready, oh, I'm let you know to you.
Good morning. Looks like we're still waking up. I need to feel the energy in the room. Good morning. I'm happy to be in Port Harcourt. I've not been here for maybe a few years. At some point, I lived and worked in Port Harcourt and traveled all over southeast from Port Harcourt. So, as I've been introduced, my name is OKE NWUKE. I think that's like our chairman of the board of trustees said. All my life, I've worked in companies that we call ourselves by first name. So, even if I met my former MD now, Fola Adiola, I'll call him Fola Adiola. I start calling him Fola as an entry-level professional. If I see him today, I still call him Fola Adiola. So my name is OKE NWUKE. Once they call me that, I'm fine. So I'm happy to be part of this enlightened gathering in Port Harcourt. If I went over, we met, I think we were in a lounge at an airport. That's how we met, and we started talking about Nigeria. I didn't realize that he took notes. Then at some point, he reached me out, I think on LinkedIn. Normally, I don't pay attention to when I get mail from LinkedIn until I like to know who the person is. A lot of AI mails that come in through LinkedIn. So I asked him, I sent him my email address, write me an email, let me actually understand what it is about. And he persisted, so I acknowledge his resilience, which is part of what I've been talking about today. If you want something, you have to go for it. There are a lot of reasons why it cannot happen. But if you want it, you go for it. My topic today is, I've been asked to speak on becoming the leader that the future needs. Can we have that on the screen? I had the presentation. Is it on the screen? I'd like the people to go with me. Do you have it on the screen? Otherwise, it will be boring. I'm not a pastor, so I'm not used to preaching. I like to carry people along. Pastors have the skill to they're speaking and you follow them, but I like to, and the way I grew up, I like people to know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, it will not be interesting. Is it going to take time to bring it up? Now, can I get some signals? Can I continue, or I'm not sure it'd be fair for me to be the only person that knows what I'm talking about. Is it up now? Wait, I can't see that. Oh, excellent. All right, thank you. This will not be part of my 20 minutes. Now, I've been asked to speak on becoming the leader that the future needs. If you look at that screen, you see a young man. I used to be like that many, many years ago. But I'm certainly not out. The reason when you talk about the world is changing. I have changed from being that person to what I am today. Now, what I plan to do is to talk a little bit on, just a few slides, talk about leadership. I'm not going to spend time on talking about leadership, but I'll just introduce a bit why we need to change. Can you go to the next slide, talk about the outline, yeah? Talk about leadership a little bit. And when I talk about leadership, part of the questions I'm going to ask you, how do you know a leader? Many of you, even without knowing Mr. Tony Cole, we know that he's a leader. Because leadership is not about direct authority, as we talk about people can influence you from a distance. That's when we talk about leadership. So we talk about leadership. What does it take to be a leader? Why do we need to be future ready? Why the urgency? And then I'm going to use my own leadership journey, to buttress, because I think like Dr. Mobulu said earlier on, it begins with a dream. But the question is, what do you do with your dream? Do you allow the world, the noise out there to hold your dream down? So you can see, I talk about the role of importance of leadership, and you can't have a leader without a follower. So I'm going to take the two as one go. Then what makes you future ready? There are traits of leadership. Then how do you develop those traits or those attributes of leadership to be ready in the future? Then I use my leadership story to bring it up. Now, if you look at this slide, it talks about urgency of future leadership. Now, the world is changing. And if you don't notice that, physically, maybe Port Harcourt has not changed much since the last time I came, but certainly it's not about the physical. The world is changing, whether you like it or not. People in this room are different from, if I saw your age grade in the last 20 years, they would totally be different from you. Not in physical attributes, but in how you think, how you reason, what makes you tick, what is important to you. Things have changed. And these are all statistics, that today, they say by 2030, a lot of jobs will be lost because of AI, the Internet of Things, whatever is happening in the world today. Now, but when I see this, I'm not afraid of that because the jobs that are being displaced are the low-level jobs. High-level jobs are being created at the same time. Now, the point for you is, where are you? How do you recognize that shift? You can take an attitude of frustration. AI is going to cost us jobs. You can also take an attitude of, why can't I be one of the winners? So it starts from us. Now, I was listening in my hotel room last night. I think I also mentioned that at the dinner yesterday. I was watching CNN. I saw that Meta, that Facebook, is paying hundreds of millions of dollars to hire AI, skilled AI, scientists, AI experts, so to say. And between them, Amazon, Microsoft is a battle to buy, they're investing a whole lot of money in AI. So where are we going to be? Why can't Port Harcourt be that center where Microsoft is hiring tons of people? You don't have to travel out of Port Harcourt. You can be in Port Harcourt and be part of that exercise. So the world is changing. The point now is, how do you as a leader, again, I'm going to mention that in the next slide. Leadership, sometimes when you hear leaders, many of us think of the governor, the president, the managing director of a company. You're going to find out that leaders are not just hierarchical, not about the person. They are leaders in this room. People that organize this place, they are leaders. The people that work with them also have people that work with them and have people that work with them. So you exhibit leadership at different levels. So when you talk about leadership, let's not think of, oh, I'm not a leader yet, or maybe it will take me years to become a leader. We are all leaders in our own right. And if you also want to become the leader that is relevant in the future, you have to adopt that attitude. Can you go to the next slide? Now, what is leadership? We keep talking about leadership. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because my doctorate program was on leadership. So if I go deeply into that, I'm not sure. We probably will not live here today. So I just have 2 slides I used to talk about this. He said, leadership is the art of inspiring. Mark the word. Inspiring, enabling others to achieve goals, which must be shared. Because not like a military governor with a gun telling soldiers, do this. You don't have authority to force somebody to do that, but you find a way of making people do that. So when you talk about leadership, it's that art of getting people to do something, which, by the way, they have to believe in. That means I've made them believe in that action, right? Now, but the key attributes of leadership. Leader, if you call yourself a leader, must have a purpose, must have a direction. What people are coming to you for is that guide. Where are we going? Just put it in simple terms. Where are we going? You must know the road. You may not know the road, but you know how to know the road. Today, I remember those days, if I drove into Port Harcourt, I'm going to somewhere, you probably have to get an Okada person to be driving in front of you to show you. Sometimes they make money off you by driving around the same place, so that you can pay a lot of money. But today, do I need those people? No. What do I need? Google Map. Even in my village today, if I get to my village, I use Google Map to get to different places. So you can see, when you talk about the world is changing, being future ready, if you still hold on to that, I don't know if you read the book, a small book, Who Moved My Cheese? You remember the story in that book? You can stay somewhere and be waiting for the cheese. And that person knows that the cheese has moved. So again, it's our decision as leaders. So for you to be a leader, like I said, you must have an engaged set of followers. I'm going to talk a little bit about followership. Again, followership, many of us hear followership from maybe a political person who come in Port Harcourt now, pay people, Okada people, they be driving, follow him on the street. That, by the way, that may be some form of followership. But that's when you have transactional relationship. Maybe I give you money for your fuel, I ask you to come out. That is followership. But the real followership we talk about among this crowd is what you call courageous followership. A courageous follower is that one that stands up to. You know what I mean to stand up for your leader, one, when you are doing the right thing and he's under attack. And also stand up to him or her when he or she is going outside that agreed, contractual, the basis of that relationship. So that is what you mean by a real courageous follower. You hold your leaders accountable. Now, this next slide, you have the former president of the USA, General Eisenhower. It says, what is leadership? It says, the art of getting people, getting someone else to do something you want done, because that person also wants it to be done. So that means you have to convince somebody to follow you if you call yourself a leader. And I say that the difference between a leader and if you don't have followers, you're just another person. So there must be the ability to convince. If you're a soldier, use a gun, command and control. If you're not a soldier and you have to be a leader, then you have to find something. That emotional connect between you and your followers. Now, and then when you talk about leadership, if you work in companies, you have what you call the chart, organogram as you call it, right? You have to go beyond that organogram to know if you want to make an impact, to know the informal leaders. They are leaders of every group. When I was in early days in banking, in Guaranteed Trust Bank, if I say the year, many of you, I don't know, many of you may not have been born there, 1991, How many of us have not been born in 1991? So quite a few. Now, we were young people working in a very well-led organization, I would say. But we had a group of young people that every evening we go to across this bank to go and have a drink. And these are the best, it's not like people you give up on and you don't worry about them. These are people, very promising young people, and men and women. At some point, the management, we didn't realize the management started getting worried about that group. We go across to have a drink. They wonder, what do these people go to do? One day, the deputy managing director came to join us to have a drink. These young people, we were all afraid, and incidentally, he joined us in a drink. End of the day, he paid for us. We were afraid of how to carry the bill, because normally pay 1 naira, 2 naira, and have a beer. He now took a black label. I can't forget that thing. That was the time I didn't know, late now. We are wondering how are we going to pay for a black label in a lounge. But one thing that he did that day that struck all of us was, he didn't write a check, he didn't bring cash. He gave them his call card, and they allowed us to leave. You may not really understand the impact that made to me. I told myself, when will I go to a point when I go to a place and I give them my call card and that becomes credit? I hope you understand the point. Now, years back, I came into Port Harcourt as the regional manager for GTB. The first thing I did was, that thing was on my mind. I got my team. They wrote all the restaurants in Port Harcourt, gave them my signature and all of that. So now I could go to a restaurant, take a customer out, give them my call card, and they allowed me to leave. I felt that was a major point in my life when I could do that. I wanted to be paying attention to some of this because my own life has been that of finding somebody to follow. It may not be a mentor that I have a relationship. It could be a mentor in the distance. But somebody I just like, the way he or she does things, and I keep trying to follow that person. Now, if you go to the next slide, again, still talking about the world that is changing. I think this is a very important slide. If you go back, what you call the industrial revolutions. I'm sure we've heard about industrial revolutions. Go back to the first set of revolutions were all mostly brick and mortar. Do you remember industries, machinery, water, steam engine, moving from horse-driven whatever to motor engine. And the biggest companies then were, again, the brick and mortar companies, the energy companies, the food companies, the transportation companies. If you go to the first, second, by the time you get to the third, it's still it's changing. You are not talking about computers, right? When all of a sudden, Microsoft had a dream of putting a desktop or whatever in the hand of everybody, which IBM said was impossible. If you know the IBM of old, was large frame, mainframe computers. To buy a computer, it could be the major capital expenditure of any company to buy a massive computer. And it was IBM that actually encouraged, indirectly, made Microsoft by just ignoring that. They thought it was a joke. How can you compare this toy to the mainframe computer of IBM? So now the biggest company from that industrial division 3 became what? No longer the brick and mortar companies. Now we are talking about the cyber, you are talking about... No, this is not correct. It took my 5 minutes, I'm going to take it back. I cannot be cheated. Again, by the way, you need to stand on your right if you want to be relevant. So now you're talking about cyber, but I make a bit more, I move a little bit faster. But the point I'm making to the largest companies today are no longer the brick and mortar, Amazon, the Microsoft. You can imagine the shift. You still have the likes of food company, but they're not small. But now the biggest company, so that the world is changing. Can you move to the next slide? A bit of things you need to do if you want to be a leader in the future. Because the days of direct command and control is gone. The people of today are different. My children today, if I ask many of my children, I want us to go somewhere, the first question I get is, why? I couldn't imagine having that argument with my dad when I was young. You get a slap or... But today, you have to engage and say why, and explain where you are going and why. They'll ask you, if you say you have a guest coming to the house, the first question, do we know them? And you have to answer. Now, but that's different. So the world is changing. So the nature of leadership has moved. Again, can move to the next slide. Now, for you to be a leader that is agile, the issue of agility You need to know what is around you. You need to move from continuous learning. I'm going to talk a lot about that. System thinking, learning. It's a knowledge world today. It's no longer, those days, Port Harcourt was oil, the oil business is still on, but it's going to fade out. I was in London last month. Something struck me while I was walking on the street. I was watching vehicles pass. I saw many vehicles without the, exhaust pipes. So what does that tell you? They didn't need them. These are electric vehicles. It could have been very abnormal to see a vehicle without exhaust pipes. But now, not one, there are many. No, so you need to be observant also if you want to be a future-ready leader. Things are happening around you, you need to take note. Now, move 2 slides in the future. I think I want to talk about the challenges that future leaders must address. Like I said, technology is changing. Generation is changing. People in this room today, Gen Z, the way they work. I know many people. My daughter got a job with mobile in US. She didn't want to take the job. She said, I just didn't like the fossil fuel companies. I was almost going to beat her up, but those days, to get a job in mobile, Shell, was the best. But the children today, she said, that's not what I want to do. She went and interned with a housing authority that does housing for homeless. I'm just giving an instance of what today's children are. But good enough for her, she didn't require me to get a job. Eventually, she got what she wanted, and she's happy with that. So to be a leader today or in the future, you must recognize those shifts. Now, I'm going to talk about, now go to the last slide. No, not the last slide, the next slide. How do you become that future leader? Learning, knowledge. You must embrace lifelong learning. I was just sharing with them, initially, last night, Tonya told us, many of you will be thinking of, I want to be like him. He just came out of school again to learn some skill he didn't have before. I'm sure you're going to talk about that, cyber security and all of that. It was as if we did the same thing. I just told him also, the day before, I had exams. I've been on board for 20 years, but I still registered with the IOD, Institute of Directors London, to do a program called Charter Director Program, because governance is changing. And this is not you read and go. I wrote exams for 2 days. People thought was I the one setting the exam? No, I was a student. Now, what does that tell you? When 20 years ago is different from today. The nature of what boards need is different from what it was 20 years ago. And I still want to be relevant in today's world. So I must put myself through what will make me relevant on a continuous basis. Now, let me talk to you about my own leadership journey. Like most of you here, if I look at you, many of you have probably had more opportunity than myself when I was growing up. I did primary school, secondary school in my village. So when I said my dream, everything about me have been influenced by impressions. I pick the right people and they keep impressing me, keep directing my thoughts on what to go. So when I was in the village, go to the next slide. When I was in the village, my first dream then was to leave the village. You know what? If you lived all your life in the village, a major motivation for me then was to leave the village. And after secondary school, to me, because of that, I could not but pass my JAMB exam. There had no choice. I had to pass JAMB because that's the only way I could leave the village. So that was my motivation. I wrote JAMB, I passed. I didn't have to talk to any vice chancellor. I didn't know any, or registrar, like people do today. You write the exam, you knew you are competing fairly, and you want to, you pass. So we passed. Now, if I move forward, that dream continued to evolve. From leaving the village to now, I'm studying accounting. Then I said, I want to become like Akintola Williams. So always have to find somebody that will help you. Now, who is Akintola Williams? The first chartered accountant in Nigeria set up Akintola, the firm Akintola Williams and Co., etc. Now, I want to be like Akintola Williams. So even from year one, the university, when some of us were still playing, I knew I was buying books that will help me pass ICANN. Any of you that read account, you know what ICANN is. Some people have done that exam for all their life. They didn't pass. But I said, from year one, the university, I wanted to be like Akintola Williams, so I had to pass ICANN. That was my first dream. So by the time I graduated, I was in the university when a company, AT&T, if you know AT&T, which is an American company, I was a scholar. So I had to stay at the minimum GPA. So when people are playing, you have to be studying. Now, something has to give if you want to be relevant. So while I was as a copper, I didn't work as a copper in AT&T. I worked as a full-time staff. But I realized that that place was not meant for me because they didn't allow me to express myself. I'm very, I like to express myself. I like to do things that make sense to me, not what I'm asked to do. So I had to write the exam. I knew GTB was formed then. It was still in the news, I found out. So I did the exam. Before I finished youth service, I've been employed by GTB. So my dream is still evolving. Then I entered GTB. I met Fola Adeola and Tayo. Fola was 38, Tayo was 37. They were directors. I told myself, why can't I become a director of a bank at 38? So that was my dream. I began to work, monitor my career. I never missed any. You need to take control of your career. So whatever I need to do to get the next level, I made sure I did it. So if you don't approve my promotion, I'll come to you. We have to have an argument. Then I continued. To cut it short, I became an ED of a bank at 37. I didn't plan it, but like I said, preparedness and intentionality led to that opportunity coming out. So again, I talked about it last night. You need to take control of your life. There are a lot of noise outside, but those noise cannot define you if you want to be a future-ready leader. I left Access Bank as a director after 9.5 years. I was still 46, so I retired at 46. So the question, what next? What next? So then I had another dream. I had to go and study. I went to school and I took a job in a family business because I had found the failure of family businesses that I knew, that I banked, was worrying for me. So my friends were surprised why I left all the banking opportunities, finance opportunities. I went to work with the family business because I needed to understand how families interact in decision-making to lead to the kind of outcomes that you have. So that's what led me into family business. Today, when I finished the program on family business, I now created a program in Lagos Business School, Family Business Management, which I direct today. Now we're beginning to talk to family members, potential business men and women, conferences, seminars. We've created modules for the Lagos Business School, the MBA students now, so they have an idea what it is. Because the reason is 70% of family businesses fail at the point of transition from generation 1 to generation 2. You know what it means to 70% to fail? So that became my motivation, which is what is driving me today. Everything I do today, whether in the business school and all of that, is on how do you get within our ecosystem, get our business leaders to imbibe those attributes that make them hand over successfully to the next generation and the next generation, etc. So that is where I am today. The dream continues, but it has to be anchored on what I call your ethical, moral compass. It has to be like a true north. It cannot be shaken from what is happening around you. So as you live here today, that's what I leave you. You are in control. Yes. You are in control of everything that happens to you. Many of you in Port Harcourt, yesterday we were talking about what do you want. People said, I want the government to do this. I want the government to make sure there's security in Port Harcourt. I want the government will not do it. They don't have the same dream you have. Do the one you can do. Come together as people. Collaborate. That's what they call, there's the one I talked about yesterday, Stephen Covey, for any of you that have read about them, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He said there are 2 things. There are what you're in control of and what you are concerned about. Let us focus on what you're in control of, which is us, discipline, focus. Not what the people are doing outside, what politicians are doing. Well, the road is bad. There are no, those things can continue. But leaders are those who can rise above these challenges, rise above these distractions, and still achieve their purpose in life. I'm going to stop at this now, but one thing I'm going to leave you with is, there's a story of a guru. You know what they call gurus? This Indian that, almost like seers, right? They see the future, they can tell you your direction. One gentleman went to him, one guru, and said, he had a bird in his hand at the back. And said, wanted to prove the guru wrong. He said, what is the fate of the bird in my hand? He asked the guru. And the intention was, if he says the bird is alive, he'll squeeze the bird and kill it. If he said the bird is dead, he'll release the bird to fly. He looked at him, wrote, just like Jesus Christ did with the people that wanted to stone the adulterous woman. He looked up and said, the life of the bird is in your hands. Now, what does that mean? The life of all of us as leaders for the future is actually in our hands. Thank you.